house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have no offers accepted if you're not viewing. So be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys. I always burn my mouth if I don't slurp. Ow. Evening, Alex.
Good evening, mate. How you doing?
I'm very well. All the better for hearing your dulcet tones.
Well, you say that as if you weren't ranting at me earlier.
Yes. See? I've got my game face on. Now, just remembering that, loosely speaking, this is a moving home channel.
Yeah.
I wanted to set the context for tonight's discussion, which could go anywhere. I think we might be talking about, I mean, some of the things I'm going to bring up are crypto, whether Peter Mandelson's arrest means Keir Starmer's finally going to have to resign.
Oh, but that couldn't have happened to a nicer man. I mean, that was
or
not
a dead rabbit. And yeah, so in the context of moving is this, right? I had a call today. I hardly ever repeat this, but viewers can book one-to-one private video calls with me. If you look at my Linktree description, you'll find the link to do that. And I had a call like that with someone today, and I found myself saying, this is someone who's selling. And they had a consideration, a genuine one, to do with building certificates, about whether to sell now or wait and sell later when certain certificates are in place. And I found myself saying, there's so much that could go wrong this year that could affect the housing market, that if you need to sell, I wouldn't hang around. At the moment, the market's basically functioning reasonably normally, ignoring what prices are doing. You know, you can, if you get the basics right, you can sell, but that may not stay the case. So talking about what's happened, what are the things that can derail the housing market's transaction momentum? Well, a sudden financial crisis, a sudden political crisis. What?
Yeah, but Rachel's doing such a good job of making sure that everyone's employed mortgage that, I mean, that's got to be the best thing.
I mean, I was getting around to saying, just thank goodness for Rachel Reeves, because without her, we'd be in such trouble, wouldn't we? Oh God,
it's growth all the way, man. Everything growth.
Yeah. What I didn't understand was that what I really didn't understand when she said we're going to focus on growth and we've got to go further and faster on growth, is that she clearly meant growth in unemployment. And so she's delivering. She's delivering astounding growth in unemployment.
Yeah, stellar performance.
So yeah.
No, but
really
if we just put the national minimum wage up and the living wage up a bit more, and perhaps a few more taxes, it's going to be spot on.
Absolutely. If putting the minimum wage up a little bit works, why not put it up a lot?
Yeah.
I mean, why not put the minimum wage up to 100 grand? If it doesn't affect anyone. Well, if doing that has no effect on the economy or businesses, why not just do that? Because you know what, Alex? If the businesses can't afford to pay everyone 100 grand a year, well, they just shouldn't be in business.
They shouldn't exist. No,
they shouldn't exist.
I'm actually going to put myself out of business.
So right, in all seriousness, right, you and I have been sounding the warning bell for some time that if selling a property is in your sights as something that needs to happen, don't delay unless you're upsizing from middle of the market upwards, where actually you're kind of sitting pretty. If you're upsizing from first time buyer to middle, no, that's going against you. But if you're upsizing from middle or second step to top of the ladder, generally speaking, with some exceptions, you're okay. But apart from people who are upsizing from the middle, it's if you have to sell, I mean, if you're a buyer, just relax.
Yes,
Be out
exactly.
there, view, take your time. There's no hurry if you're a buyer, because even though house prices are rising in some areas, they're not rising as fast as wages are.
Well,
So
depending on
even
if
the
you're in the
real
public,
wage,
yeah, it does depend on
What?
whether you're in the public or private sector, mate.
yes, okay, yes, that's true. That's right. Okay, so for our newer viewers, I think that, genuinely speaking, fingers crossed, nothing major happens that derails the housing market in the UK so that people can get on with their lives and get on with their house moves. Fingers crossed. And you know what? There's a chance that might happen, that somehow we dodge, duck and dive and swerve all of the dramas and crises that are happening, and people can get on with their lives whilst the political class destroys itself. But because I think there's a major chance of a political upheaval, right? Most likely around May. If the May local elections are an absolute wipeout for Labour, and if Keir Starmer doesn't leave after that, I will probably eat my hat.
He has stated many times he has no intention of doing so.
I know, and he clearly seems to mean that as well. But I think there'll come a point where his party will just say that's enough. That's enough, right? You're destroying us. We're losing seats. Everything else.
And then for comedy value, they'll give us Ange as Prime Minister.
Right, loves. Yeah. Do you know what? I would enjoy that more than Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. I would, just for entertainment value. There would at least be some. It would be entertaining. There's nothing entertaining about Keir Starmer. Nothing. There's nothing even.
The question is really, Charlie, reform or restore?
Well, being as politically neutral as I am, I'm just going to. I don't form opinions until it gets to election time. We can look at manifestos, look at the people being presented, and then base it on policies and who we think might bring the policies in. And before the last election, you and I both agreed that ignoring what Labour's manifesto policies were, which were palpably ignorable, as we've seen, there was no competence in their cabinet, and it was going to be a disaster. And that has happened. So that's why I took against Labour. Not because I'm against the Labour Party in principle. I'm not in principle. There are values of the Labour Party I completely understand and support and always have. Some of them, not most of them, but some of them. I think the reform and restore battle is going to be popcorn worthy. It already has. It's already started. You know, there is an irony to reformers calling restore neo-Nazis. I think you can almost hear the relief about reform.
Someone else we can point at.
They're the Nazis, not us. It's them.
Oh dear.
So yeah, but again, for people watching this because they want to know whether they should move home or not, right? If you're selling and selling is important to you, do not delay. Do not delay, because I just don't see this year improving in terms of the landscape for sellers. I don't, because of employment falling or unemployment rising. Because I mean, we've now got the whole tariff thing is weirdly and unexpectedly burst back on the scene. Because the Supreme Court's overruling Trump's tariff powers, and so he's kicked off and said, "Well, I'm going to whack them all up again." Then, you know, so and the markets don't like that very much today. There's so much potential for people who are trying to move house to have their move derailed. And by the way, that reminds me. Maybe it's not for this video, but because of the stuff you and I have been talking about off camera about Best Agent and what's coming and all the different partners we're lining up, I wanted to go have a recap and go through all of the things that, even though when you've done everything right as a seller, the list of things that can derail your sale. Because again, sellers need to understand that, because most sellers come to going, Oh, well, it's easy. You just, you just put it on the market with any agent. So you go with the cheapest fee, they put in Rightmove, and that's it, right? Which is why Connell's figures have gone. I mean, Connell's profits have gone up. I cannot get over how many sellers choose Connell's when they've been in the news and on Panorama for being basically crooks. With it, but they're still like, one born every minute. Go, oh, well, use Connell's, shall we? I would never use Connell's unless there was an individual in the office that I really knew I could trust. And other than that, I would never use them. So it's going to be hard enough, I think, to sell your house this year, generally compared to normal. I would not wait. I would not delay. Okay, unless you're moving up, in which case you're okay. Because the economy is not doing well, despite Rachel's record January
but
tax
Rachel's
grab.
responsible for lowering the interest rates, not the Bank of England. And a lower interest rate is fantastic. I mean, that shows the economy is really on a growth spurt.
For those of you who are new here, Alex is being sarcastic.
Yeah, just a little.
So yeah, we have. I see clouds gathering, political, economic, and financial clouds ahead. And you never know exactly where a storm is going to strike. Storms tend to be quite localized. So with that in mind, I was going to pull up today's
oh God,
Bitcoin
you want
graph.
us to get shouted at again by people for days.
I wanted to go back to a conversation that you and I had on this channel.
Yeah.
When we were arguing about what actual utility or intrinsic value Bitcoin does or doesn't have. And I also got, and by the way, this is not gloating, because I would never. That
would be wrong.
That would be wrong. But someone put this graph up on X going, I don't understand. Why are they all going up and Bitcoin's going down? Because an increasing number of people have been saving in Bitcoin for a house, right?
That wasn't wise.
Well, I don't know. It depends when they started, right?
Well, it does, yes.
I remember being a seller at 90,000 and saying so on this channel and being laughed at. Well, yeah, I think I'd have. Yeah, if I had collected my profits at 90,000, I'd have been very pleased with myself. Now, here's my question for you, Alex, on this, right? I think that the reason Bitcoin is underperforming all the other typical comparable asset classes is because of increasing uncertainty, because of increasing margin calls, because of decreasing liquidity. Generally speaking, people who are being forced to sell assets for liquidity purposes to free up some cash are going, what should we sell? Oil? No. Gold? No. It'd be crazy. No, let's just sell our Bitcoin.
Well, let's face it. If you bought it back in 2016, let's say, boy, have you done well. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. The thing is, as far as I remember, and I'm not sure about this, I'm sure your audience will correct me. I think that at its peak, which was about the middle of last year, the crypto market, so I'm including Ripple and Solana and Ethereum and Bitcoin, but in total, it was about 4 trillion is what it was worth. And now, across the board, it's probably halved, about, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, look, 124,000 in October last year, 64,000 today.
Yeah, but that's just Bitcoin. Ethereum has gone down more than that. Solana and Ripple, I'm not sure. But just say the whole market that was worth 4 million for all of them combined, 4 trillion for all of them combined, must now be worth around the 2 trillion mark. In global terms, when you look at equity markets or property markets or even bond markets, it's tiny. I mean, it's a less than 1% asset globally.
Okay.
So, it's not going to have a massive impact, apart from for the people who bought it at $1,000 a coin and then sold it at $126,000 a coin. It has a massive impact for them.
Yeah.
But, I can't see it having a big impact globally at this point. As we discussed the other week, my take is buy back in at 36,000.
Yeah, well, see, he's going to come down on. Okay, so guys, what's the relevance of this? The relevance of this is, I think, is just how completely unpredictable the financial markets are at the moment. I would not Like I've got some things I've been holding very long term, and I continue to hold them long term, and I'm up on those. And in fact, Bitcoin is still higher than when I first got my Bitcoin that I can't find. I still can't find it. I haven't had a chance to look for it. But you know, someone's just mentioned about Iran, right? The US and Iran and what might be happening there any minute. It is completely unpredictable what's going to happen this year on the world stage, right? You know, is Mr. Peter Epstein? Peter Epstein? That's not what Peter Mandelson.
Although that would be a terrible clone baby.
Yes, yeah, it would. So is this, I don't know, this feels, someone found out today that when somebody wanted to appoint the former Prince Andrew as a trade
Ambassador,
then Prince Charles said, no, he's on the record as going, no, that's a terrible idea. Don't give Randy Andy any responsibility because he'll only mess it up. And it was Peter Mandelson who defended him and said, no, we must have Prince Andrew as our trade envoy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it, these dodgy bastards stick together.
So you know, my point is, like, look at all these things going down. They're all seismic on their own. So, you know, again, this year,
last time we had a prince arrested.
I know, 300 or 400 years ago, and he got beheaded. It was Charles I.
He was a king at that point. But yes, royal family members do not get arrested for anything serious.
Didn't.
No.
But also, I think the royal family might be saying, well, that's why we stopped him being a royal.
Yeah.
We stopped him. Yeah. That was quite, they must have known it was coming.
Can you imagine that conversation? You know, well, Charles, old boy, there was that time that I gave the Chinese
Yes. Yeah. We could get that. Going down that road gets a bit smutty, doesn't it? I think we just probably best stay away from all that. So anyway, we've got turbulence in the financial markets, turbulence in the crypto markets, turbulence in the political markets. Because honestly, I don't like, someone behind the scenes has got to be keeping Starmer in power. There's no other explanation I can think of.
Well, apart from the fact of who would replace him.
Well, no one asked that question when they replaced May and then Boris and then Rishi.
Yeah, they did. Rishi had been in the sidelines sitting there going, oh, I'm having his job. He'd been after the bloody PM job for ages.
Here's the question. Okay, all right. Questions for Stiggy. So Glenn W on YouTube says, are we in a SaaS apocalypse? Are you expecting a tech stop pullback this year? How long before Musk's robots can make the perfect glass of Amarone?
Well, a very, very long time. Because I don't, you know, as I discovered with a building in terms of getting planning permission because of an odor from a nearby place, actual sniff tests or taste tests are things that machines are not very good at yet. So yeah, yes, I think there is going to be a pullback in the tech market. As to whether it happens this year, given that my previous projections were always too quick, I mean, they're happening, but you know, people and things seem to hang on by their fingernails for much longer than you would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to look at the vast AI growth. No, it's not as exponential as it was over the dot-com period, but it's the same sort of thing where people are running into issues of, you know, how are we going to use this technology in a way that is actually beneficial and productive? Yes, at the same time, they're out, you know, creating new GPUs and building data centers left, right, and center, and then building the power in order to power the data centers. We've got people like Elon and Bezos talking about data centers in space and how they're going to get up there so they can use the free solar power. You know, I mean, it's all a bit, will that come to pass? Yeah. I mean, you know, again, my favorite sci-fi writers were writing about AI mines in space powered by solar 40, 50, 60 years ago. So, yeah, it will come to pass, I'm sure. This year, probably not. Due a correction? Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely changing. I mean, I've been in software as a service for 25 years now. Specifically software as a service because I designed the first ever web-based estate agency CRM system. So it genuinely was the first one that didn't have to get me physically installed on their computers. And having had 25 years now, and now looking ahead, as you and I have been discussing about best agents plans, right? And in particular discussing the dev plans.
Yeah.
And now you're looking for different skills.
Well, you look at the comment you got from JWeb763. I fully understand where he's coming from.
So he says, I'm a software engineer and worried about AI. Houses on the market, have considered renting next, but worried about uncertainty and possible job instability. Yeah. Do you know, I mean, for what it's worth, and this is speaking as an employer, and if you look, for those of you who listen to the All In podcast, they talked about this, and that I find that a really valuable podcast. AI on its own achieves nothing. AI intelligently applied with a strategy to a business carefully can achieve a lot, but it hasn't happened yet. And most of the effects of AI are being overblown at the minute, as the effects of the internet were when they first started.
And yet now it is a core fundamental, as machine learning will be. Although you may have noticed they pivoted recently to people are now making predictions that we'll have artificial general intelligence by 2030, which I think is insane. But hey.
Well, we're already... so the existing dev team I've got now is already using different coding AIs to generate, to assess it, to look for bugs, to do some code, and we're testing it. We're really testing it. But I think it's as much of a risk as it is a win if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
You're talking about losing control of your products completely, and then no one knows what the hell is happening to them. Because no one's accountable. There's no one you can go say, "Oi, what did you do to our application? What happened? Like, who committed that?
Who hallucinated that rubbish?"
Yeah, exactly. So I do think there's a massive AI stock bubble. Massive. Sasha Yanchin did a hilarious takedown of that in his most recent video, by the way. He actually shows all Google's and Amazon's and Apple's their spend, how totally out of whack their hardware capex is on AI stuff. Like, he's just like, they're all turning themselves into loss-making businesses over this.
Yeah. Yep.
Google's had to raise £100 billion of cash. Wasn't it already supposed to be a really profitable cash profit cut? What's it doing? And he talks about the returns that can be expected. Like, the returns they can expect, even if it goes well, aren't going to be enough.
No, but what they're doing is building out infrastructure so they can own it. And when they own it, the future.
He made the point about that. He said, over how long do you amortize these chips?
Oh, well, the chips are relatively cheap in comparison with the future potential of owning one of the world's biggest AIs.
Their big spend is all okay. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. But his point is, they are borrowing hundreds of billions to buy the hardware, which will be redundant within 5 years, long before they've paid off that 100 billion.
Oh yeah, and they'll do it again, and it won't be 5 years.
He also said you better get used to seeing adverts, because no we got some really interesting comments in here. I wanted to just pick up. Someone said Sue Benison goes, "Not Ange, the gobby cokehead."
Yeah, that's fair. That's a reasonable description.
This is not the official opinion of this channel, of course.
Can it be my opinion?
Yes, it can be your opinion.
Okay, good.
Yeah, lots of good questions here. Kicking Mustang saying Rachel increases unemployment, which drives down inflation, which means interest rates cut, which is good news, right?
Do you reckon we could pay him to airsoft her in the head? You see, that is a video that I would watch over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's got lots of airsofting people in the head videos. Lots.
I know. I enjoy all of them.
I love it. He's watching now. I love the ones where he gets someone that is like probably a bit like a gobby cokehead of one kind or another, who's cheated, and then just starts repeatedly shooting him in the head. It's quite
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Guys, do we have? So we've got a question here about: will the Renters' Rights Act cause higher rents for tenants? After 1 year, will agents advertise above market rate and give landlords an excuse to raise rents? Right. Alexandra, hi there, on YouTube. There are several interesting things that are going to happen now that we know exactly what the renters' rights changes are. Okay. One of them is actually of interest to the sales market for people who are selling and buying, which is that as of the 1st of May, you can go and do a long-term rental for 2 months. You can move in, give you notice on the day you move in, move out 2 months later.
Really?
Yep. So you can, so if you're selling and buying, you no longer need to worry about short-term accommodation. You can literally go on the rental market and rent somewhere. And you only have to give 2 months notice from day one, right?
Wow.
That's interesting point number one. I don't think that's a bad thing for anybody, right? If there are landlords who've got properties that aren't letting,
No,
you might quite like
true.
that.
And the reality is, unless you are renting a place that has furniture in, which normally is for short-term rents anyway, you're not going to be able to do that because no one wants to pack up and move twice in 2 months.
No. The second thing about these higher rents, so I think it is a very predictable mistake to say that a landlord cannot accept more rent than the asking price, because that has two negative effects, which is in an area where a landlord has, for whatever reason, underpriced the property he's advertising and gets multiple tenants, and one of the tenants is like, I can afford more, I'd like to pay more. Not allowed.
Yeah.
And the landlord could face up to 40 grand fine if they were to accept that, right? So, but there's going to be temptation for that to happen. But the point is, that is limiting the market. It's a constraint on a free market thing.
Is it still?
Hang on.
Sorry.
Just the second part of this point is, what's going to happen as a result of that is that agents are going to advise landlords to put higher asking prices on and accept offers below.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that in itself, except that it will appear that asking rents have gone up when in reality rents won't have gone up that much. But secondly, more importantly, and this is, I think, a real problem, it costs a tenant nothing to demand a steward's inquiry on any rent increase, and it has to go to tribunal. And the landlord cannot put that rent up until it's come back from the tribunal.
Jeez.
Right? So literally all the tenant's got to do, if the landlord increases the rent, and go, yeah, I want that checked out by the tribunal, please. And until it's come back from the tribunal. So what's going to happen? The tribunals are going to get completely bogged down with spurious, just people trying their luck. And the tribunals that are needed for real tenant-landlord problems, where actually people's livelihoods, lives, the ability to move on are at stake, they're going to get it's not been thought through. It's going to be bad.
Is it still the case that you're only allowed to pay a month's rent? So,
yes. Yeah, you're allowed to pay anything in advance. Once you're in, I'm not sure that there is a grey area somewhere here. Once you've moved in, if you then want to pay some more rent in advance, that measure is designed to stop people with money having an advantage over people who don't have 6 months rent.
Yeah, but at the same time, it excludes people potentially who have their own business.
I think it's a terrible thing to do. You're interfering with the free market, never ends well, right? But I think that although you can't accept any money up front from day one, once someone's been in and paid their first month's rent, I don't know if there's anything stopping people from then saying, right, I'm not going to pay the rest of the year in one go. I don't know. People always find the way around these rules, these new rules. You remember that photograph of someone who put on a footpath, they put a thing, two fences to stop cyclists, and the cyclists went around them. And
Exactly.
Bureaucrats. Gotta love them. Gotta love the bureaucrats. Right. Have we got any more questions? Gemini is forcing lots of UK holders to sell it. Okay, gold is best performing asset. Yes. Let's just get down to more recent stuff. Yeah, that's a good point. Dan says, who will be paying more rent? Unemployment's going up, so expect a lower competition. That is true. In a lot of areas now, the demand for rent is coming down because there are fewer people with jobs.
Yes, and more people living with their parents and not having babies.
That hurts, says no one ever underprices a rental property. Well, that's not true, because I can assure you, plenty of landlords put properties on the market and then have people bidding over the asking price. So they did underprice them. Although that market, I think that market has calmed down now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you reckon? Do you reckon Starmer survives this year or not? If gambling man, yes or no? You've got to put your money on Starmer still Prime Minister at Christmas.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's so depressing.
Yep. No argument from me. But I just don't see who's going to mount the challenge to get rid of him.
Right. Well, if you're right, at least that will be one less thing to destabilize the housing market.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
but Rachel will have done all of that all by a lonesome anyway.
It genuinely baffles me how anyone can consider themselves a professional when they are implementing these policies where there is so much evidence of what will happen and they ignore it and they do it anyway. And I know it's just ideology, but like it just terrifies me that our political system allows ideologues to get into power and just ignore maths.
Yeah.
This is not a political standpoint. It's like, we know these things happen. We know that if you increase the minimum wage, fewer young people get jobs. Now, if the economy is booming and there's really strong growth, then yeah, okay, you can get away with the raise the minimum wage then, and no one really notices or cares. That's absolutely fine, because there's so much competition for staff anyway. I think that happened in Poland. So in Poland, they put the minimum wage up. Hasn't caused a problem because the Poland's growth has been so strong.
Yeah. Also, Poland's minimum wage was very, very low.
Very small.
Very small. Whereas ours is now approaching the median fucking salary, which is why everything is going completely tits.
And all the people you see arguing with this, wherever you decide to argue this on the internet, they don't understand that their argument is entirely ideological. Yes, of course it would be nice if everyone got paid more. But that doesn't mean you can just mandate it and expect businesses to stay in power, especially when the same people are saying, but everyone should be paid more because everyone should be able to earn a decent wage. Alex and I agree with that, but it's how you go about achieving that's up for debate. What you don't do is just slap a massive tax on employing people and expect it not to affect unemployment, and then slap an increase on minimum wage when businesses are already struggling and expect that not to increase employment for young people, just ignoring patently obvious maths, and then go, oh, well, I mean, if you can't afford it, you shouldn't be in business anyway. Well, that's fucking brilliant, isn't it? Saying, oh, well, all those businesses who are struggling, just close down. Just fire all those people you're struggling to pay, right? Because you shouldn't be in business anyway. I mean, that point of view boils my blood because it only comes from people who don't understand what it means to employ somebody.
Yeah.
And I saw someone yesterday saying, oh, yeah, well, I mean, James Dyson or whoever it was, it was one of the British ones. He only employs 4,000 people. Only.
Only.
How many have you employed? I asked him. Well, I haven't employed anyone. I said, look, anyone who creates even one job is contributing more to society than anyone who doesn't create jobs.
Yes.
Fact,
yes.
right?
And
You create even one job, one reliable job.
Of people.
You have created a livelihood for someone on the back of which they can build a life.
Yeah.
Right. There is no greater contribution to society than creating jobs.
Some people might argue creating babies.
I don't understand why people don't do more of that anyway. It's fun. It's really good fun. Making babies is fun.
Yeah, the making part, yes. The rest of it
is fun. Really. It's quite hard work, but like all things, it's worth doing. Do we have any other? Oh yes, the sky is falling, says Jay Smith on YouTube.
I love an Asterix and Obelix quote.
My kids are reading those now, which is
Oh,
cool.
they're brilliant.
Dan Denning says some people will definitely do that July and August and then sublet it on Airbnb. I can see that happening actually. Yes, Louise Phillips, all old tenancies automatically swap over to the new ones on the 1st of May. And there are landlords everywhere who don't understand what that means. And there are agents everywhere who are not telling landlords that's what's going to happen. Because there are landlords and agents going, oh, yeah, so here's our 6-month short tenancy. Hang on a second. What's going to happen with that? And they're not talking about it. It's breathtaking how underprepared most landlords and agents are. Not all of them. Plenty of them are prepared. Okay, so I've got a question for you, Alex, which is on its current trajectory, unemployment, where do you see it going by the end of this year? In terms of like 5.2% now?
Well, I mean, you remember my projection back in 23 was that we were going to break the 2011 peak of 8.5%. And it wasn't inconceivable that we wouldn't get to the early 90s peak of 11%. So by the end of this year, given how slowly everything's moving, I think it'll continue to tick on up. Maybe we hit 7% by the end of this year, 7.5%. Well, but this is the problem. These figures are disguising a real issue, which is you go, oh, well, it's 5.2%. Yeah. What's the unemployment like in 16 to 25-year-olds?
Yeah, it's 15%.
I mean, I remember when Spain, going back probably 30 years now, they had a youth unemployment in excess of 25%, and the whole of the rest of Europe were going, oh, my God, oh, my God. Well, yeah, 15% is a lot less than 25, but it's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it is. That's my point. And I it's so frustrating because I don't think we're getting, I think there's so much figure management.
Yeah.
So much. Because this feels to me at a personal level, at street level, the number of shops that are closed, the number of people who can't find work, it feels like the early 90s again to me. It really does. It feels worse. In 2008, we didn't really see a massive spike in unemployment, did we? There was a bit of it afterwards.
No, but sorry, this feels to me much more like 2007, in that you look at the high streets and the shops are closed and people aren't going. I mean, Putney High Street's a joke, but so is Richmond now. And you go, well, if Richmond, that's what happened in 07. And then we didn't get a huge spike in unemployment in 08, which, again, surprised me back then, but now I'm wise to this. The unemployment usually comes later, which is why it peaked in 2011. And so that's why I don't expect our peak is going to be this year or maybe even beginning of next year. Perhaps the end of next year or even the year after is where we hit the peak of unemployment. Yes, I am that pessimistic for the next few years. But, that's just the way these things work.
Well, I mean, I can't disagree with you because there's just nowhere on the horizon is there a source of sustainable growth. And so the next point I want to ask is, on the back of that unemployment projection, what would you say to someone who's just tried to sell their house, was unable to get offers they wanted, and has decided to wait and try again later?
Not wise. Very much not wise.
What are they going to wish they'd done?
Yeah, sell now. Sell.
I literally still see examples of this every single day. I see sellers going, oh, well, we'll just take it off the market, put it back on. Like that automatically fixes it. There was that London Money put that thing on X about the property that was bought in 2000 and that was bought and sold a couple of times. And in 2013, it was 200% up on its 2000 price, even with a house price crash in the middle of it. And since 2013 until now, zero.
Yeah. But that's common. I mean, I put up
Yeah,
all those...
no. You and I know it's common, but again, there are sellers coming to the market now who haven't even been watching the housing market or prices for a while, who are still completely unaware of what's happening to house prices and think that they're still going up because they always do. There are still I had a call with someone today who bought 3 years ago, not new build, thank God, but bought in London 3 years ago, lease or flat, and is having to sell it for less than they paid for it 3 years ago.
Yes. I don't know why anyone would be surprised by that at the moment.
I agree with you. What I'm surprised at is how many people every single day come out and keep on making the same mistake.
Yeah.
It's literally like house price zombies. It really is. Kicking Mustangs made a point. The biggest red flag for the UK economy is that we are a services economy built on email jobs. We are arguably the most vulnerable economy to AI advances in the Western world. Only India is more vulnerable. Well, that's the point you've made, Alex, isn't it? That we're basically just like not quite as cheap a version of India. So America uses the UK as we use India.
Exactly. We are there offshoring for R&D for science. They go, oh no, it's because your universities are so good, Oxford and Cambridge, they produce such wonderful students. Bollocks. I mean, yes, they do. I'm sure they're great. But that's not why the Americans use them. They use them because they're cheap. Compared with an American researcher, they are very, very cheap.
We have that other story out today about how Adzuna has just reported the lowest number of graduate jobs since records began, less than 10,000 graduate jobs. Yeah. And roughly 100 graduates applying for every graduate job.
Well, and yet my sister still threatens to get very sharp implements and stick them in me when I suggest that her children might not want to go to university.
You see, okay, so anyone who's got parents or kids now and thinks that a university is still a good idea because that's what we've always done, you've got to consider the possibility that you're making a massive mistake that isn't going to affect you, but it's going to destroy your kids' futures.
Yeah, I think my sister would say, yes, but he's going to be a doctor and she's going to be a lawyer, so they're going to have to go to university. You go, okay. But anyone who is not studying something that is very serious and useful for the future, university it's a very expensive way to get pissed and make a few mates.
Yeah. I remember back in the day when all my friends were at university, I was working in the city as a derivatives broker and then spending my weekends at universities. And I spent so much time at Royal Holloway and Cirencester and Exeter and Swansea.
A lot of nurses around Royal Holloway.
I was there so often they all thought I was a student there. And no one could ever understand why I had money, and they didn't. That was the way to do it. GDP Zero says, yeah, it's like the 90s, but without the drugs and fags.
Oh dear. And the music. And the music. Yeah, well, Zed Humpy makes a good point. Thank God for our manufacturing base, cheap energy and low taxes. Yeah. Well, Rachel, again, I think we can thank, well, it was successive governments, obviously, but at the moment, I'm still not seeing small modular reactors popping up left, right, and centre.
It's bewildering to have a government this incompetent, genuinely bewildering. Yep. K-Art says, I hope Stig is wrong. I'm very worried about all the young unemployed. Yeah. I mean, if I was in my early 20s now, and if I was a median work-seeking guy in my early 20s, I'd be wondering what the fuck I'd done wrong.
Yeah.
And it's horrific. It's soul-destroying. Especially if you've got boomer grandparents saying, oh, just... you'll be all right. Look at us. We turned out fine.
Can I draw your attention to @PissBabyGrandad?
Oh, yeah. He's always good for a laugh.
Because he is not wrong. They will have huge deposits because those little fuckers don't drink. My bloody nephew, no, not drinking. Won't do it.
That's right. Gen Z will have huge deposits because they've stopped drinking. Yeah, that's true.
How am I supposed to interact with a nephew who doesn't get pissed?
There are answers to that which I'm not going to give. Wow. God, there's some fascinating comments happening here. Here we are. Jay Smith makes a helpful comment. The best thing a young person can do today is become a robot.
Well, that was partially true 20 years ago.
Daft Punk have just released a new video today that makes that a very salient point. Brand new song with a video on YouTube called Human. And it's not their best track, but it's still quite good. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Hang on, let's just right.
What you up to?
You know how much people complain about boomers?
Yeah.
And how lucky they've been. Now, my point is, I've been thinking about this a lot because there's no question that in terms of chronology, they got it was quite lucky. Things have tended to go in their favor. House prices,
Not quite lucky, mate. Monumentally lucky.
Very, very lucky. But can you blame them? Because what could you say?
No.
You can't blame anyone. This is my point. Like you can't. What you can blame them for is when they go, "Oh, don't complain, you'll be fine." That you can.
Yeah,
blame
fuck that, and don't eat avocado on toast. Fuck you, and fuck the war you rode in on.
Yeah.
But
there's nothing that the actual boomers themselves could have done differently.
They were trying to look after their families. You know, when they said, "Oh yes, Myris, oh yeah, I'll take tax relief on the interest payments on my mortgage so that I can buy that 6-bedroom house and have 4 kids." Yeah, wonderful. You know, oh yes.
I saw someone today saying that they shouldn't have voted for those policies. I don't think that Myris thing was a manifesto policy anyway, was it?
Well, Myris had existed for a long time. Interest relief on your mortgage, or tax relief on your mortgage interest payments had existed for a long time. The fact that it was now taken at source was new, so that wasn't a big change. And then it got increased so that you had 2 people could potentially claim on the same property. Took it from 30,000 to 60,000. And no one today, it's the same as saying, oh, all of you guys, all you young people today, whatever you do, never take a 6 times salary mortgage. Don't use Help to Buy. Don't use, shared ownership. Just because it's there doesn't mean you should use it. And yet millions of them would still fucking use it, even though most of those things are very bad for you anyway.
Well, and the other thing is, there's no way that boomers, when they were back in their 20s, could have predicted what was going to happen.
No one knew Tony Blair was going to rock up and house prices would go 3.5 times in a decade.
No one knew he was going to basically unleash buy-to-let lending to anyone who could just say, yeah, I'll have it. I'll have some. Yeah. No one knew that was going to come. So you cannot blame boomers for the luck that
you know who we can blame? Someone you know. So here's the chain of events, mate. There was a bank, a very well-known bank, a very well-established bank, and it basically got crashed by a single rogue trader.
Oh, yes.
And because of that, the Bank of England had its mandate taken away. And it got given a new mandate that rather than overseeing all of the other financial institutions, because it had fucked that up, it was only allowed to fuck around with interest rates and inflation. And they said, oh, well, what do we do then? Well, we've got to set up a special body, the FSA, who will then manage all the other banks. And it was the FSA that allowed companies like Northern Rock to go out and give 125% mortgages and so on and so forth. So you could go, it's all Nick Leeson's fault, that little bastard, Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. John Parnell says, for any youngster today, I would say screw the university degree. Instead, train to be an electrician, plumber, carpenter, or some other skill related to the building trade. What it comes down to, if you are a young person today and you cannot find work, then rather than relying on someone else to give you work, go and find your own work in whatever shape or form that might be, right? You don't need someone else to give you someone who wants their car cleaned, right? If you are someone that's capable of cleaning a car, you don't need to be employed to do it. You can go and knock on the door and say, can I clean your car? When we moved out of our last house, we had a guy who just decided he didn't want to rely on anyone else for his work other than himself. And he was a cleaner. He had cleaning equipment for doing deep cleans inside and outside houses that were being checked out by the tenant. And my God, this guy was efficient and hardworking. The kit he had, what he charged was good value to us and was a great wage for him for the day. Right? And honestly, I'm not saying I'm not saying that this is how it should be, and I you get a lot of pushback from people who just want to be given a job. Yes, it would be wonderful, and if we didn't have Rachel destroying our economy, there would be more jobs there. That is a fact. If we didn't have increased minimum wage, there would be more jobs for young people. That's also a fact. But the fact is now that there aren't those jobs, and therefore, if there are no jobs, what is your choice? Sign on to get universal credit, or go and start doing stuff that people will pay you for.
Yeah.
And what you'll find, what most people who do that find is it's tough to get started. It's hard work to get started. But once you do, you realize that you've got customers that a boss can't take away from you. You have an income that can't be taken away from you. And in many ways, once you've got whatever, you could be a drain cleaner, a gutter cleaner, a patio jet washer, and then there are some more skilled jobs as well that you can learn how to do. There's so many things you could get training to do, and once you've got your own customers and your own business, no one can take it away from you as long as you don't, do anything stupid. And in many ways, in a situation like this, that is a better place to be than relying on an employer.
Yes.
And I don't accept the fact, oh, well, some people just aren't cut out for that. No, I'm sorry. That's just some people can't be fucked. Yeah. I'm sorry. Unless you're saying you don't know how to wash a car, right? If you can be bothered to do the work, you can make a living.
Yeah, don't disagree. Dan Dennings is possibly even more pessimistic than me.
Oh, really? What's he
Yeah.
saying?
Could the under 25s not drinking be a massive psyop, getting a nice, young, fit and healthy army ready for the next big war? I fucking hope not.
Jesus. Jesus. Yeah, that is dark.
But they did grow up with zombie movies where it says, number one rule, cardio.
I've got there's a question here from a new name I don't recognize called Shiro Girl. I think she's saying, I'll not let an estate agent dictate how my house is worth. They just want a quick sale so they can get paid quick and fast at my expense. That is a very common misconception. I really want to make sure sellers need to understand this, okay? There's a simple reason why this isn't true. Because most sellers will get 3 estate agents around. And if any of the estate agents actually were to undervalue it, they'll quickly find out that's the case, because the other 2 agents will be giving very, very different values. And so why would you choose the one that gives you the lowest valuation? Now, what you'll find is that what agents really want is more than anything else. They want to win your business. That's what they want. And they're not going to win your business by underpricing it. Okay. So this is not something you have to worry about. And in fact, this is a story that sellers who are clinging to an unrealistic price tell themselves about estate agents. Yeah. Agents don't dictate what your house is worth. The market dictates what your house is worth. Agents have to create the market for your house. But then you've got the same person goes on to ask, if you pay no money up front to an agent, then put a limit of 8 weeks to the estate agent's contract, what's the average price? After 8 weeks, they haven't managed to get a buyer. So most agents don't charge anything if they don't sell your house, right? So if you've gone with an agent that you think is the one you want to go with, and it's no sale, no fee, and you've put a limit of 8 weeks on the contract, and they don't sell your house, you can leave them after 8 weeks and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, mate. Well, listen, let's start to wrap it up. Any?
Just having a look.
So you think Keir Starmer will be in power? Do you think there's going to be any form of financial system damage, dysfunction, derailment? Is there going to be a black swan event financially this year? Do you think, if you had to guess, yes or no?
If I said that I've just cashed in my pension and moved it into a separate SIP, where when it transfers, which I'm hoping is very shortly, looking at the stock market, it will sit in cash for a little bit and I'm willing to take the loss. Does that give you an idea?
So you're actually putting your money on there being a financial event this year.
Yeah.
Wow. You heard it here first, guys. Okay. So that's so Starmer stays in power. There is going to be a financial black swan event. So Fred Harrison's going to be right. That will cause dysfunction in the housing market and pain and unnecessary. What about US Iran?
Oh, it'll carry on. I mean, I don't think it's going to escalate.
Rumble on.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not seeing like a massive conflict flaring up.
Look, it's not something that I know enough about. I've seen the news things, obviously, but I don't know enough about it to say if it's going to kick off.
Okay, so you have no opinion either way on that one, then?
No.
Okay. Any other expectations or predictions for this year?
Well, I hope it gets better.
Yes, aspirations for this year. Let's hope it gets better. I agree with that.
Yeah, I hope I sincerely hope I'm wrong, and that, for instance, the government actually puts our money where its mouth is, and we move forward with Rolls-Royce building out some factories for the modular nukes. I hope that we do manage to attract outside investment as well as internal investment into new technology, med tech, biotech type startups, because given that we are a services country now, that is really the R&D and those sort of services are really the only place we can go, because our financial services side, I mean, it's still big, but I would love to see some opportunities. But I'm not very hopeful.
All right. Well, listen, on that happy note, thank you very much for your time and your wisdom and wit, as ever. It's always a pleasure having you here and having a nice chat like this. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. And we'll see you back here again on the next live stream. Next one's due Wednesday evening. And don't forget, if you're new here, please check the Linktree link below for my beginners videos on moving, 10 golden rules of buying, 10 golden rules of selling, 5 golden rules of offering. Make sure you get your conveyancer first if you're selling. Make sure you get your mortgage broker first if you're buying. Make sure you order your search pack early, not late, so it doesn't derail your sale. Yeah. And make sure you've got your name down on my weekly newsletter mailing list at that address there. And Alex, make sure you've had time for a quick before our next engagement, our next appointment.
Yes, that's a very good point. I will do exactly that. Have you sent me a link to that one?
I'll send it to you momentarily. It's a very easy one.
Cool.
Guys, everyone, thank you very much for watching. And
cheers, Patricia.
Have a good one. See you on the next